All right, let's get right into it. We're about to break down a pretty massive shift happening in the global economy. This is all being driven by AI that doesn't just think, it acts. And at the center of it all, the rise of a brand new role, the workflow architect, and what's being called the new agentic economy. Okay, let's just start with the number that puts all of this into perspective. $4.4 trillion. That's the potential annual value that Agentic AI could pump into the global GDP. And this isn't some pie-in-the-sky prediction for 2050. This is the economic earthquake we're in the middle of right now. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, what exactly is this new agentic economy? Then we'll meet the key player, the workflow architect. We'll look at the tech they're using, which industries are getting hit first, what this means for your job, and finally, how to navigate this whole shift. All right, first up, the agentic economy. Let's be really clear here. We're not just talking about getting a little more efficient. This is a fundamental rewrite of how businesses operate, how they create value from the ground up. Yeah, this quote really nails it. Think about it. For centuries, business has been about managing people doing tasks. Now, we're shifting to designing systems that orchestrate autonomous AI agents. So the core unit of value isn't the person anymore, it's the process. So if the whole economic operating system is getting an upgrade, who's writing the code for it? Well, that brings us to the star of the show, this central figure of the new era. It's a role that lives right at the intersection of business logic, data, and AI. It's time to meet the workflow architect. So what do they do exactly? Simply put, a workflow architect is the person who engineers how work actually gets done in a modern company. They're the ones designing the systems that stitch together all those different apps we use. They're the human conductor for a whole orchestra of AI agents. And maybe, most importantly, they're the ones who can take a big business goal and turn it into a real, working, automated system. And it's really important to understand how this is different from other roles you might know. You see, a solutions architect, they build a specific product's tech stack. A DevOps engineer, they handle getting that product out the door. A business process engineer, they just map out how things are currently done. But the workflow architect, they're different. They're designing how things will be done. They orchestrate processes that run across everything, tying together APIs, AI, and business logic into one cohesive, automated system. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What's in their toolkit? What tech are these architects actually using? And what kind of results are they getting? Okay, this is probably the most important technical concept to grasp, the jump from deterministic to agentic workflows. For years, automation was just a set of rigid, if this, then that rules. Predictable, but super brittle. If anything changed, the whole thing broke. Agentic workflows are a whole different beast. You don't give them a step-by-step list. You give them a goal, say, qualify the sales lead, and you give them tools, like access to your CRM and email. The AI agent itself then figures out the best way to get it done. It plans, it acts, it learns, it's flexible, it's resilient, and honestly, it's way, way more powerful. And the benefits here are just huge, and they really stack on top of each other. You're not just saving a few minutes on one task. You're cutting down on errors across the board. You're scaling up your operations without having to hire an army of people. And, this is a big one, you're freeing up your team's mental energy to focus on the stuff that actually requires human judgment. The workflow itself becomes a valuable company asset. And we're not just talking theory here. The numbers are real. Look at IBM. They're projecting that agentic workflows will slash their order-to-cash cycle time by 51%. I mean, think about that, cutting the time it takes to get paid in half. And right on top of that, they're forecasting a 35% jump in employee productivity in departments like HR. These aren't just small tweaks, these are massive game-changing improvements. The cool thing is, this kind of power isn't just for massive companies like IBM anymore, it's becoming accessible to everyone. You've got platforms like Zapier leading the charge, already orchestrating hundreds of thousands of AI tasks every single day. What they're doing is democratizing this power. They're hiding all the messy complexity of APIs and webhooks behind a simple no-code interface, so you don't have to be a top-tier software engineer to build incredibly powerful automations. So how does something like this actually work under the hood? Well, let's break it down. It all starts with a trigger, some event, like a new email arriving. That kicks off a process. Then you have logic layers that ask questions like, does this email contain the word invoice? If the answer is yes, it fires off a whole chain of actions using APIs. It might pull data from the attachment, pop it into a spreadsheet, and then send a notification to your team on Slack. That whole sequence, that's your automated workflow. That's a Zap. Okay, so we've seen the how. Now let's zoom out and look at the where.
Where is this revolution actually landing? Which industries are right on the front lines of this whole agentic shift?
This matrix gives us a fantastic snapshot. No surprise, SaaS and tech are at the top with a huge 80% automation potential. They're already digital. But check out marketing and financial services. Both have very high agentic potential. That's huge for things like personalizing customer experiences or running complex financial models. And then there's healthcare admin. The overall automation potential is lower, but the agentic potential is high. Think about an AI that can understand messy medical records and navigate incredibly complex billing systems. That's a game changer. And the impact doesn't just stop there. You get these massive ripple effects. As companies build their whole operation on these automation platforms, we're going to see a lot of software vendors consolidate. The API economy is just going to explode because everything needs to talk to everything else. And this creates brand new markets for things like automated compliance tools to keep an eye on these AIs, and of course, it opens up a whole new can of worms for cybersecurity.
Okay, this is the part that probably hits closest to home for a lot of us. The micro level. What does all of this mean for our jobs, for our skills, for the future of our careers?
And this is fascinating. There's this massive disconnect in how people are seeing this. On one hand, you have 61% of the workforce worried about what AI means for their jobs, but on the other hand, you've got over half of executives who believe AI agents will actually create more jobs than they get rid of. That gap in perception, that's not just a small disagreement, it's a huge strategic problem for any company trying to manage this change.
So, what's the right way to think about the new world of work? This human agency scale from Stanford is a great framework. It's a spectrum, right? From H1, which is full automation, all the way to H5, where humans are absolutely essential. And here's the key takeaway. For most knowledge work, the sweet spot, the most productive spot, is H3, equal partnership. This tells us the future is about collaboration with AI, not being replaced by it. And if the future is collaboration, that means the skills we need are changing, big time. As AI agents handle more of the routine data crunching and task work, the skills that become incredibly valuable are the ones that are uniquely human. We're talking about strategic thinking, creativity, communication, leadership, the stuff AI can't do. And this isn't just a hypothetical. We are literally watching these new job categories being born. Roles like agent systems supervisor, automation auditor, AI governance designer. These are becoming critical roles inside companies. You can think of them as the whole support crew for the workflow architect, making sure this new digital workforce runs smoothly and safely. All right, so let's bring this all home. How do you actually navigate this massive shift, whether you're a company or an individual? Well, looking ahead, the next couple of years are all about the convergence of new tech. Agentic frameworks like AutoGen, systems for managing multiple AIs at once, and much smarter ways for them to remember things. The winners will be the ones who master these new tools.
So, in the end, really seizing this opportunity, it's not about just buying a new piece of software. It's a total strategy. You have to transform your workforce, completely redesign your processes, build a solid data foundation, and figure out how to trust these AI systems. And most importantly, you have to find that perfect balance between AI autonomy and human oversight. Because really, the question isn't if your business will become agentic. The only question is, how well will you architect its future?